Welcome everyone to my first gold label figure review. That's exciting, is it not? I think it's still a figure. I truly don't know what the gold label means, honestly. It's just, for me, it's a variant. It's a nice variant, but gold label. So we have Azrael, the Suit of Sorrows version. So here he is, the box. Here's the box. Typical, standard DC Multiverse box, but with the gold label. You have to be 12 or above. Azrael, Suit of Sorrows. Figure picture. Pretty standard. Not very heavy posing. Other figures from this line. Side of the box. Top of the box. Bottom of the box. So yeah, let's take a look at how he looks outside opened and out of the packaging. Woo! Alright guys, so here we have Azrael, the Suit of Sorrows version out of its packaging and looking really cool. And so I realized that I haven't had a chance to talk about the Azrael mold on this channel. So for this review, I will also be bringing in the original Azrael. And we'll be talking about that, my thoughts on it, although this guy will be the focus. He'll mostly be here for comparison, but he will be here. So before all that, let's take him and let's compare their accessories. So first, it comes with the same fire that the original came with, and it attaches on the sword. It attaches on the sword, as I will show you in a bit. Speaking of the sword, these are the swords. The sculpting is the same. Again, immaculate sculpting with the crucifix on there. So the blade is the same color, but there's more color in the old version over here with the browns and golds, although it goes with the color scheme. Sorry, not brown, maroon and gold. Whereas this one is a full silver and gold hilt. It looks, on its own, this one looks a lot more striking. But with the Suit of Sorrows, this one also really looks good. And so yeah, both of the flames just attach that way. So that looks really cool. There's a notch at the bottom here where the flames sort of like click in. And for display, it's also possible to go from the other way around. So you can have that look going. Which I actually had my old Azrael displayed like this, with him holding the sword down to the ground like that. So that's really cool. Got the fires. And he holds it pretty well. You have his display card, which is the same art as the back of the box. Which I'll explain something here in a bit, but this is very much the concept. The prototype. It seems. The back, oh, it's very different. So yeah. There you go. I don't know which I prefer, the action figure art or the comic art. They both look really cool. They both have their appeal. So that's pretty cool. And of course, DC base, you know. So now bringing in the main event, the Suit of Sorrows version. I just want to point out one thing before we talk about the details. Is if we take a closer look at the head sculpt here, you can see that the concept art, we bring in the sword so that I can point. You can see the concept art, the face shield has a lot more paint than this one. The red goes over the eyes for this one, whereas for this guy, let's lift the hood a bit. There you go. The red only goes up to here. And I actually kind of like this look. More than the whole paint. But that's the only difference that I can see between the two. Yeah, that is the only difference I can see between the two. But you know, it's there. Take it or leave it. Not a big deal. So yeah, bringing back the old Azrael. This is the one that came out last year. And my personal second Mcfarlane figure, and I knew that from the moment I picked this guy up, I knew I was gonna enjoy the Mcfarlane line. Mcfarlane is doing something right with the DC license. I really like it. You'll see very much, it's the exact same mold, but the paint difference is a lot. So we'll quickly go through the paint differences where, I mean, the obvious paint differences. This one has the black wash all around the torso. You have red buttons here, and a lot more like lines going around the face. Whereas here, you don't have those extra buttons. It's all just painted silver. But the lines in the face, I think, are still sculpted in there. Yeah, pretty good. So it's almost just like a color swap. But none of the colors, I think, remain the same, except maybe the gold pieces over here. But they look a little bit more brown here. The brown here definitely looks a lot lighter than the one here. So a lot of things going on. Oops, sorry. Unclear. I hope the whole thing wasn't fuzzy. So yeah. So you can see, I'll go through the details in a bit. But for the most part, it's just a color swap. There's no mold differences between the two of them whatsoever. So setting him off to the side, because he's not a look. We'll take a look at the Suit of Sorrows version. Bring the camera up a little bit. There you go. You can see wonderful sculpt. Wonderful sculpt. The hood still has the detail on the crest over there. You still got the long cape-like thing. I don't know what you call this. It is still plastic here, and the plastic ends over here. I think it's a mix of both soft goods and plastic. I say soft goods, it's more rubber. Soft goods, more leather. I mean, fabric, isn't it? But no, soft rubber over here, soft rubber. Go back to plastic here, and everything here is plastic except for the waist, which is a rubber material. Which is unlike what they usually do nowadays, where in the most of the body is now rubber. So again, you still have that head, you still have all the details, but you have that added cross. And I considered not doing this review because there's a lot of religious iconography of Azrael, because that's his character, that's who he is. So I considered not doing it because of the undertones, but we're just taking a look at action figures. There's not anything about, the details are there, as it should be. Again, same details. You have the armband, you have the gauntlet here. The white ball joint is not as noticeable. It's there, but it's not so bad, I would say. I mean, it clearly breaks the silver, but it doesn't break the mold as much as other Mcfarlane figures do. So that's not so bad. The white of the legs are a different sort of white, which is okay. I mean, it's a different layer of clothing, so that it looks nice. It actually, a different kind of white, breaking up the white of everything else, looks really nice. So the white and silvers, although in concept I think it should look a little bit bland, it looks really good. I think the sculpt really elevates this figure. You can see there's even detail in the back belt. Just a few more pieces of detail I didn't get to talk about, which are on this figure and not in this figure. You can see that you have all these crosses here, all these little details that are picked out here in this figure. You can see on the box on the butt, and the whole rosary is painted here, whereas in this figure it's not painted. It's just there. It was just left blank, which I kind of wish they did. Oh no, yeah, they painted the rest of the rosary. I didn't notice that. But yeah, there you go. So while the paint apps are not as great as the original version, I mean, not as detailed as the original version, there's no wash on the body and all these things, it still looks great. I think the sculpt that they're working with is great to begin with. So you still have your silver dagger. Unlike there where you can see there's two colors on the daggers, you only have one color here. That's one thing I forgot to point out. Oh, and the rosary. This one has a white cross with brown beads, whereas that one has, you can see, the gold cross and the gold beads. So that's the one that's the one part of this guy where there's more colors than the previous one. But like I was saying, as a whole, even though his color scheme is a little bit more muted or toned down than the other one, it's still a great sculpt to begin with, and overall a great figure. So let's get into articulation, shall we? Again, same articulation as Red Azrael over there. You have your head on a ball joint down at the neck. The one thing about this figure that I can't do with this, that I can do with this one, is that the faceplate of my previous Azrael has. That's the one thing about them. They are front heavy, and their toes seem to move up a little bit sometimes. So as you can see, this guy, and I don't think this is talked about enough, this guy has a ball joint in the faceplate. Or not a ball joint, it just has an articulation point in the faceplate. So you can see it's clearly looking up. Let's bring it closer. So this guy has an articulation joint in the faceplate. You can see he's clearly looking up right now. As I bring it down, I'll try not to move the neck. Yeah, so that's really cool. I really like that about the original figure. You can make him look up. I can't seem to make him do that with this figure, with the Suit of Sorrows. He has it. I can see he has it. I think it's just frozen. Maybe I'll try to pop it with some heat. But I can't seem to make him look up the same way I make this guy look up. But that's okay. I mean, he still has great head motion. And seeing that he's wearing a mask, it doesn't really bother me too much. So that's really cool. His arms go up that high. The other side goes up pretty high as well, considering there's a pauldron here, or what do you call it, a shoulder armor here. It still goes pretty high. So that's not so bad. Both biceps can rotate. They both have a white pin, so you can see that it does break the sculpt. And he can move his elbow 90 degrees. The joints, by the way, of this figure are a little bit more loose than this one. I think the plastic they use is a little bit different. And I feel like the joints are a little bit more loose and feels like a bit more fragile. So there's that. The ball joints are the usual Mcfarlane ball joints. They have that much range of motion. They can swivel. And the ball can move down here. It's just sort of hard to get. So what I would do is I'd do that. I'd use the hand as a lever. And then you can do whatever you want. There's a double waist. Crunches up, crunches back, side to side. That much. So really good waist joint. For a Mcfarlane figure, especially, it can move forward. I really kind of wish they apply this to some of the newer figures, whereas they can't move forward. So I really wish they do that. This is, I realize, a separate piece. I'm just realizing that now. But it's all one articulation. I think this piece is just over this piece, on top of this piece. Oh, that sculpt. Oh man, I'm noticing a few things now looking at... Oh, that's a lot of sculpt. Legs. Not much sculpt, but they move forward that much. Bend the dagger a little bit, again, but really soft rubber, so not gonna be an issue. No butt to hinder the articulation, so all the way back. But that breaks the sculpt a little bit. You can see the leg over there. Goes out all the way. Pretty much splits. Felt like I pressed something. Oh, I might have like pressed it in. Splits easily. These guys, I guess, if you count this as articulation. Legs, awkward angle, 90 degrees. Let's do the same with the other one. You can do that. Feet, toes, do that. Feet have that much movement, and can rotate. It is a Mcfarlane ball joint as well, but I wouldn't move it too much because he is already like a little bit off balance. I think his foot is a bit small for his body, so yeah. Wah! Pow! So you can get him into very dynamic poses. Considering he's such a bulky figure, I think that's really cool. That's not a very good pose. It's just a while I was doing articulation segment kind of pose. It's not so bad. This sword, there you go. That's what you're getting. That's the figure that you're paying for. So yeah, it's actually really easy to get him in a pose. So yeah, bring him back in. Bring back Azrael, the original one, for size comparison time. So bringing down the camera again. Oh no! I'll put them off to the side. So my first comparison will be, well, my one and only non-standard comparison today, since he's a Gotham character, would be the Batman Arkham Knight version. So Batman stands much taller than either of them do. Let's put them at eye level. There you go. Batman stands much taller than either of them. I gave him a friend of mine molded that kryptonite spear, and I can't get it off the hand. The hand is just so tough with this one. I didn't review this guy, but the plastic is so rough with this guy that I can't get that out anymore. As much as I try, like I want to heat it up, but it's okay. I just display him with that. I don't want to bother with it. So yeah, that's how they look. Primarily a Batman character. He's primarily associated with Batman. Oh wait, hang on. The sculpt of this guy is broken up because of the articulation. There you go. It looks much better when it's aligned. Nope, but it's not clear. There you go. Oh, on an angle, but if you look at there, it is aligned. I guess that's one issue with having a straight line down the middle of your suit. And then your standard comparisons. In my channel, you have the Green Lantern, which is the standard Mcfarlane 7-inch figure. So he does stand at about the same height as the two of them, barring the... He wants to fall. There you go. See, that's what I mean when I say that the feet are a little bit... One, they're a little bit loose, and two, he's already top heavy. There you go. Yeah, I'm just right. There you are, with the Green Lantern. And Iron Man. You can see he looks more like that. Maybe I should have gotten the white version of Iron Man as well, the game version of Iron Man, just to match this guy. I'm having a harder time with this comparison segment than I usually do. Weird. So what do I think of this figure? I think it's great. To begin with, this figure was the one that sold me in the Mcfarlane brand. It's the second figure I got after Dawnbreaker. I like the Dawnbreaker figure, but this one, when I got this, I was like, yep, they're doing something right with the DC license. And so far, they've had their highs and their mids. I don't think I've picked up any very low figures. I heard there are some, but for the most part, Mcfarlane has delivered, and almost every single one of their releases is worth picking up, especially if you like the characters. But specifically the Suit of Sorrows, I like it. It's not as detailed as the original Azrael, but in general, it's still fun to pose. It's still imposing on your shelf. Just the shelf presence of this guy is great. He comes with a sword. He comes with chock full of details, and I think this is a good way to do a repaint. You have the original mold, which is good to begin with, and you take it and repaint it into something that's very, very different from the original, stands out on its own, but still looks good, and is, in the comics, he was very crusade inspired. He had a very crusade inspired suit. So you take that and you have still a good figure. I think it's still worth the pickup. If you don't have this mold, and here in my country it's going up, in the aftermarket price is shooting up, this is still a good alternate. If you want an Azrael figure, this is still a good alternate. If you ask me which one I would stick with if I only had to keep one, I think I would keep this guy, because of just the details, the wash, and the presence. But I'm glad to have both. They both look really good in my shelf on their own. And I don't usually get repaints. I try my best not to get as much repaints as possible. That's a lie. Sometimes I do. But in principle, I try not to. But this looked different enough from this that I think it's worth another pick up if you have the money available, and if you have, if you like the character, I think this is worth it. So that's my thoughts. I think this video ran much longer than I thought it would. Maybe because I'm looking at two figures, but well, 1.5. I'm looking at 1.5 figures. But thank you for joining me. If you like this video, do follow my channel. Do all the YouTube things. Comment, let me know which one of the two you prefer. If you had to only pick up one, which would you like? If you already have both, let me know your thoughts. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Hopefully. No Mcfarlane figures coming out that I will pick up because, cash. But I'll see you in the next review. Hopefully that will be soon because I'm excited for the upcoming figures. See you. Bye.